Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This one's from user Kakas92. Friend and flatmate went entitled. Just had to share a story of an old flatmate. By the way, English is my third language. Please forgive any mistakes. I moved to a new city to finish my bachelor's degree. This was the last semester and I needed practical work to gain my last points. I landed a job in Oslo and found a nice place to live, sharing a flat with 2 people. Me and the other girl had a lot in common. We both worked in the same field, her front of house and security in some venues, and I worked as a lighting technician, freelancing and in a few theaters as a temp. We got along so well that we decided to move out once our lease was up and rent another place together, only the 2 of us. Around the same time, she got a new job, and she could work from home and make her own hours. Since I was happy for her and she would be home way more than me, we agreed she could have the biggest room and rent should still be split equally. A few months into this 3-year lease, she started to change. She got really self-centered and I couldn't stand to be around her. All of a sudden, she said things like, "I'm better than you, my job is better than yours, I make at least twice what you make. You're a nobody and can't do anything for me." This ended in me not wanting to be around her, and I moved all my stuff into my room, only going out to use the kitchen or the bathroom. She also chose to spend thousands of dollars on new fancy dresses instead of paying me back $25 for the internet bill, saying she didn't think it was important to pay me back. New clothes were more important. Sorry for the long backstory, but I needed to give you an image of how entitled flatmate was as a person. During our last year living together, I was working myself hard. Normal hours for a tech in Norway are 35.5 hours a week, and I was working at least 80-hour weeks for over 2 months with only 1 day off in that entire time span. That meant I was out the door before 7 a.m. and home after midnight. So I showered and went straight to bed. I was too tired to do anything else. One night I dreamt of a car alarm, and it didn't stop. Then another sound chimes in. Wait, a doorbell? This didn't fit into my dream, so I woke up. Indeed, someone was ringing our doorbell, and the fire alarm was going off in the building, central fire alarm. My eyes were groggy and I went to open the door. It was 4 a.m. This guy was looking at me. He didn't say a word, so I asked him, "What's going on? Is it really burning?" Remember, I've been working over 200% for over 2 months. The guy just looked at me with a shocked face and said, "Girl, the alarm is going off in your apartment." This made me wake up. I looked around and indeed our entire apartment was covered in gray thick smoke. I went to the kitchen as I assumed my flatmate was cooking. No open flames, thankfully, so I turned the oven off and opened it. Opened all windows in the apartment before walking into Sleeping Beauty's, she's a beast, room. She had fallen asleep with a pizza in the oven, and now the fire department, police, and ambulance were on the spot. The police took statements and the firemen looked in the oven and made sure all windows were open. Things went on till 5 a.m. and she had to take the blame as it was her fault. I was offered to be checked out by the ambulance personnel since I hadn't inhaled a lot of smoke, but I declined. I just wanted 1 more hour of sleep before I had to leave for another day at work. I was told to go to the ER if I felt any discomfort throughout the day, as smoke damages can accrue late. That evening, mid-second shift, I started having problems breathing, so I finished the show and my boss sent me off an hour early to go to the ER. I was quickly put on oxygen, not even 5 minutes after I arrived, and seen by a doctor 2 hours later. My throat was swollen from the smoke, but thankfully no lasting problems. Just 3 weeks of breathing heavily. No heavy lifting. Reminder, I am a light technician. Heavy lifting is 60% of my job. My bosses were really nice about it, and I got to take it easy the next 3 weeks. After hours at work and the ER, I came home to entitled flatmate. She demanded I pay half of the fine she got from the fire department. I mean, she could have killed me and now she's expecting me to pay $600? I exploded. To all of you wanting and dreaming about going off on an entitled person, It felt amazing. I went on a heavily worded anger spree and told her she could have killed me. She could have burned the building down. She had my throat swollen, and she wanted me to pay $600? Even after her ranting on how much more money she made than me, and that I was basically trash for making so much less than her, I basically told her to F off. She stood there like an idiot, not knowing what to say, as I went to my bedroom to try to calm down and get some sleep. It's now 2 years later, and I'm glad I bought my own place. And I'm never having a flatmate again. She has tried to reach out during this time, and I've just ignored her. She isn't worth my time. I have so many stories about this girl's entitled behavior since she got that new job. I believe you treat people the way you want to be treated, regardless of their work situation. Just because you got a better paid job doesn't mean you get to treat me like crap. Just FYI, I love my work. I love being creative and making shows magical through lighting. I actually get to do my passion for a living. Well, this is just one other example that money has nothing to do with class. How insecure do you have to be that you take money as some sort of indicator of who's better or worse than other people? Let's take drug traffickers or drug cartels. They make a ton of money, and they're not good people. It does suck how this entitled roommate changed all of a sudden when she started making a better living. Like, she went from being a nice girl apparently to telling her flatmate and friend, "I'm better than you." Anyways, that's not the only story OP shared about this entitled flatmate. So how about we continue with the next story. This one is also from user Kakas92, entitled Ex-Flatmate. Again! I am now a 29-year-old woman who works as a lighting technician in Norway. At the time, I lived with this girl, 6 years older than me. I only had a 50% steady job. The rest was on and off and seasonal. Welcome to the hard lifestyle of a TV, theater, and event technician. My last post was the last straw for me, since she had done this before. But that time I came home from work in time to stop the fire department from coming. I already answered some comments about leasing with her for 3 years. I know, it's a long time. This was after we had already lived together as good friends for 3 years in another apartment. The only thing that changed was the fact that she got a new job and suddenly became too important to talk to people like me, commoners, as she now would talk to actors, filmmakers, and producers. She once told me that I was not allowed to go to a party for TV and theater workers because she might go. Ugh, I can't with her. But that's another story. As I said, we had a 3-year lease. It could be broken with a 3-month notice, but we were both on the lease and she didn't want to go. She had almost the entire flat to herself. I stayed in my room, yet paid half of everything. She had the living room almost all to herself. She often chose to sleep there instead of her own room. When we got to close the end of our lease, I tried to do the adult thing. I sat her down to talk to her about my plans of moving out. I said, "I've been thinking about what to do once our lease is up, and I'm personally ready to buy my own place. My bank has approved my loan application." To this, she replied, "Oh my god, cool. Let's start looking at apartments. I will not live in an old one. It needs to be new and..." As she went on, I was shocked. She thought I wanted to buy it for us, or with her. So I cut her off saying, I'm looking for an apartment for me." And she said, "Oh my god, are you serious? You won't buy with me? What am I supposed to do then?" "You know what? It's fine. I make so much more money than you, so you will only be able to buy old crap. Mine will be so much better because I have standards." I could only reply, "Good for you." I got up and walked away. She was fuming since I didn't give her the answer or fight that she wanted. A month later, I had bought my first apartment. It's small and from the 50s, but it's mine. The payments go to building my own future instead of throwing money at a landlord. She happened to see some pictures of my apartment after I had bought it. She came to me and told me how ugly and old it was. That she was going to live so much better than me. I simply replied, "Well, that's your choice. I hear you're going to spend $1,500 a month to rent a high-fashion apartment. That's literally throwing money out the window, seeing you want to buy your own as soon as possible." FYI, my apartment might be small and old, but my total a month is $1,000 with everything included. And most of it goes into my property, which will only increase in value. Has already gone up $50,000 in 1.5 years. It's a first-time apartment, and once I'm good and ready, I can sell it and buy a new one. It's the smartest way of saving in my opinion. Her face was priceless. She looked shocked, then mad, and said, "I'm going to live better than you." I couldn't help myself. I looked at her with a poker face and said the words that angered her more than anything. "Good for you." And I walked away while her head looked like it was about to blow off. She is still renting that place, telling me about it in messages I don't reply to. Well, first things first, OP, let's address the elephant in the room. When you say literally throwing money out the window, well, I'm gonna let my friend Ted Mosby take it from here.
You mean figuratively!
But then again, Ted can be a little bit of a douche sometimes. If you don't know who Ted Mosby is, you might want to check out a show called How I Met Your Mother. It's awesome. Anyways, back to the real story at hand here, your entitled roommate and how she's going to live better than you. I think your response to any of her comments is the best one. It's good for you and then just walk away. It's not necessary to enter or engage with these people in these conversations. That's what they want. They see money as something that defines people, when it actually has nothing to do with character. Money doesn't define you. These people see money as a goal instead of a mean. I'm sure we've all met somebody like this in our lifetime, and if you haven't, I'm sure you will. If any of you feel up for it, you can share in the comment section if you've ever met somebody like this and tell your story. Now, what about that party? Anybody else interested in that party that OP mentioned that her flatmate didn't want her to go because she might go? Well, if you're curious about the party, then stick around because that is our next and final story for the video. So let's continue with that. So, say it with me. This one's from user Kakas92. Entitled Flatmate. You can't go to that party, I'm going. So, the story of when my ex-flatmate told me I couldn't attend a party, that's basically made for my co-workers and people like me. As I said before, I work as a lighting technician at events, in TV, and theaters. I got a BA in TV production where I chose to specialize in lighting. Over here, Norway, the TV and theater technical community is quite small, and if you don't know someone, you're sure to have at least one person you both know in common. I knew a lot of people, going to the best TV production school in the country, having big guys within the field teaching us how to get things right and how to think new. Also, working in theaters and at this point being the head of lighting at a local theater. Every year, there's a massive industry event. It's set up in a big mess hall where you could look at suppliers' merch, have a drink, try out new equipment and talk. It's a great way of seeing what's new on the market and making connections, as well as seeing old friends and classmates. The entire event lasts for a weekend and I enjoyed every hour I spent there. I talked to old friends and got introduced to a lot of new people. At the end of the event, there is one huge party hosted by 3 big companies. They make a big show. Fireworks, light, sound, picture, video mapping. It's kind of magical. To get in at this party, you need to get invited by someone working in one of those companies. They give you access and give you some free drink tickets. This year, I was invited by several people from 2 of the companies. Before I left the mess hall that day, I had enough drink tickets to get wasted enough to dance on the table. Like 15 free drinks, along with everything we got served at the mess hall. I went home to change, as I wanted to join my co-workers and friends at this huge party. Cue entitled Flatmate. What are you doing? Oh, I'm going to the party. No, you're not, 'cause I'm going. Excuse me? My job is so much cooler than yours, so they would much rather have me there. Okay, so who invited you? I don't have an invite yet, but I just need to make one call. Okay, so you're asking me not to go to a party you're not invited to? Yes, I don't want you to embarrass me. You know this party is basically for technicians, right? I don't care. My work is more important than yours. You will not go. You know what? I have 3 people who invited me. I have lots of drink tickets I'm going to use. It's my co-workers who are going to be there. I would ask you to be my +1, but you obviously don't want that. And honestly, at this point, I don't want you to be either. If you don't want to be at the same party as me, don't go. You can't tell me not to go when I have promised several people I will meet them there. Entitled flatmate stomped her foot and shouted bad words at me, telling how important she was as I walked into my room and changed. I left the apartment giving her a "have a nice evening" as I went back to the hall to join the others till we moved on to the party. The night was awesome, and no, she didn't get in. I was told the day after that she tried, but she did not have a band around her hand like the invited people, so she was refused entry. Just need to point out, she isn't a bad person, just has this entitled and self-centered behavior from time to time. She did have her good days too, and she was good at making my birthdays kinda cool. So she still had glimpses of the nice and kind person I knew the first 3 years while I lived with her. I just couldn't handle the entitled, "I'm better than you" crap. And those are all the stories we have about this entitled person from Norway. If you are from Norway and you are watching this video right now, could you do us a favor and tell us if there is like a Norwegian name for a Karen? Or would it just be Karen too? I'm curious about that one. Anyways, at this point, there's no reason to give any commentary because we've already done that. So I'm just gonna say thank you, OP, for sharing these cool stories with us. And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to reach our goal of 100,000 subscribers. Also, if you feel like chatting with others from this community, you can always join my Discord server and check out my subreddit. I'll leave the links in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video.